If you want to get a band 7 or higher in the IELTS speaking test, you need to watch this video because I'm going to show you how one of my students, Selena, got a band 7 in IELTS speaking when she initially started at a band 6 with her speaking. So if you have a look at her message here, she said, "Hi, it's Selena here. I took your complete IELTS course and I got my required score of 7. Listening 8, reading 7, writing 6.5, and speaking 7.0. So in this video, I'm going to talk specifically about what Selena did to improve her speaking from a 6 to a 7. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. The first thing that she did was she focused on pronunciation. Most students never focus on pronunciation. And if you do not focus on pronunciation, your pronunciation will never get better. So many students just keep saying words incorrectly, keep mispronouncing sounds, and they never learn how to pronounce the sounds of English. And what Selena did is she focused on the sounds of English. When I say the sounds of English, I'm talking about your TH, your SH, your CH, your L, your R. She went back and learned how to pronounce every single sound of English. And I think this is something that most students never do. They never start by learning how to pronounce every sound correctly. And the longer you say something incorrectly, the harder it is it's going to be for you to change your habits. Okay, so if you're trying to get a high band in speaking, make sure you think about your pronunciation if it's not very good at the moment. Now, when it comes to the sounds of English, she focused on learning the international phonetic alphabet. Now, if you haven't heard of this or you don't know about this, I recommend you write this down or take a screenshot and learn this immediately. Okay, if you learn this, your pronunciation is going to be much better and much clearer. The second thing she focused on was her accent. Now, a lot of people think that accent doesn't matter in the speaking test. Well, that's not true. It does. If your accent makes it difficult for the examiner to understand you, well, you're probably going to be about a band 6 for your pronunciation band score. So to fix your accent, you need to, again, learn the sounds of English. But when you learn them, don't use your own pronunciation system. So for example, if you learn the word, like this word here, connected, just try to copy the native speaker exactly as they sound. Okay, forget your accent, forget the sounds of your language. Okay, just try to sound exactly like the native speaker. So for example, connected, but a lot of students would say connected, but this O here is not an O sound, it's an sound. Okay, connected. The next thing she focused on was stress. A lot of students, when they speak English, they speak in a monotone. They don't have any emotion. Okay, you've got to have some stress. And stress means when you pronounce different sounds or different words louder than other sounds. So let me give you an example. Let's go over here. This word here, I'm not going to pronounce it yet. Just have a quick look. How do you pronounce this word? Well, the answer is photographer. So if you listen, this tog sound is spoken not much, but a little bit louder than the other sounds. Photographer. And in English, stress is very important. And if you don't stress the correct sound in a word or in a sentence, it can change the meaning. Okay, so think about your stress. And finally, the next thing Selena practiced was her connected speech. So just basic things like instead of saying want to, she said wanna. Instead of saying have a, she said have a. Okay, these are basic examples of connected speech. And as you can see, connected speech is where two sounds or two words come together. Okay, and they join together. Sometimes we actually remove sounds. So for example, if you look at this one, give it to him. Well, what we'd say in normal fast speech is give it, okay, give it to him. Give it to him. Give it to him. So you can see this H, we have completely forgotten about the H and we're using a completely different letter. We're using a W now. Give it to him. To him. Okay, so learn your connected speech. It's not only going to help to improve your speaking score, it will also improve your listening score because you'll be able to understand more of what you hear. Okay, so learn connected speech, very, very important. So one more time, okay, she focused on the sounds of English, her accent, stress, and connected speech. Let's move on to the next thing, which is complex sentences. Okay, a complex sentence is a sentence which has two or more ideas. So I'll give you a very basic example. Even though I was tired, that's one idea. I still went to work. That's the second idea. Okay, complex sentences have two ideas. So what Selena did was she focused on making longer sentences. A lot of students in the speaking test, they just make short sentences like with present simple or maybe past simple. Okay, that's not enough if you want to band 7 in your speaking score. You need to make longer sentences. And to do that, you need to use different structures. So let me give you some examples. You could use which. You could say by plus verb ing. You could use other structures like the passive. You could use things like have plus verb 3. You could say something like as a student, as a teacher, Okay, you need to use different structures. And that's exactly what it says in the band descriptors. It says you need to use different structures, a variety of structures. And that means, excuse me, you need to use some simple sentences and some complex sentences. So it's no problem at all if you use some simple sentences like, I am into sport. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to use complex sentences as well. Okay, just using simple sentences is not enough. You need to use complex sentences. Very, very important. So practice using complex sentences and try to make it natural. Try to make it normal for you to use complex sentences. Now, just going back to different structures, another one that I can think of is just by using even though. Okay, even though to talk about a contrast, or maybe despite. Okay, using different structures to make your grammar more interesting. Don't just use the same sentence structures again and again and again. Okay, that's not going to help you get a high band score. Now, if you want to learn the exact system that Selena used, make sure you check out our Band 7 Plus IELTS preparation course. The link's in the description down below, and it's going to show you everything that she learned to get to a Band 7 in speaking. Now, and also the other the other 3 skills of IELTS as well. Okay, so let's go to number 3. The third thing that she did was she didn't have short answers. Remember, it's your job to show the examiner what your English level is. Even if a native speaker goes into the speaking test and just gives short answers, they won't get a band 9. Okay, you need to show the examiner your English level. Go in there with a good attitude, with a friendly attitude, and just try to show the examiner your English, your vocabulary, your grammar. Okay, it's your job. So yeah, no yes or no answers, generally speaking. It's okay to have one or two or three. That's fine. It's not the end of the world, but 90% of your answers should not just be yes or no. Actually, probably more. Probably 95% of your answers should not just be yes or no. So always support your answers. Now, if you don't know what support means, that means give more information. So if you say something, you need to explain yourself, and you can do this in a variety of ways. You can talk about an example. You can give a reason. You can talk about an effect. You can give a comparison. Comparison. Okay, there's so many different things that you can do to extend your answers. Okay, always support your answer. Very, very important. Another thing that's important is that she showed she was willing, she tried to produce long turns. A long turn just means a long answer. So 3 sentences, 4 sentences, more. Because a lot of students, from my experience as an examiner, they just don't try. I ask them a question and they give me a 1-sentence answer. Well, that's not enough for a band 7, because in band 7 fluency, it says you're willing, you try to produce long turns. Okay, so make sure you try to expand your answers where possible. All right, let's move on to number 4, which is she focused on, let me zoom out a bit. She focused on fluency, not perfection. And yeah, look at this first point here. Band 7 does not require perfection. If you want a band 9, okay, you probably need to be perfect. Okay, you need to have the best grammar, the best vocabulary, perfect fluency. But for a band 7, it's not necessary, okay? Even I'll give you an example, a band 7 in grammar, it still says it's okay to have some errors or some mistakes. So if you're making some mistakes with your grammar, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, if you make a lot of mistakes every sentence, yes, that's a problem. But if you make some errors, if most of your sentences are correct, that's fine, okay? You're going to get a 7 in your grammar, as long as you have a wide range of sentences as well. Now, another thing Selena said she did was she kept speaking even if something wasn't perfect. So if you're talking, if you're explaining something and you stuff up, you can't think of a word, or you make a mistake with your grammar, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. Just keep going. Even native speakers sometimes make mistakes. Even native speakers sometimes can't think of what to say. Okay, don't worry. Just keep going. Remember, band 7 does not require perfection. You don't have to be perfect. And I think that if you try and be perfect, it can actually reduce your performance, because there's so much pressure on you to be perfect. But if you just go in there knowing that it's okay to make a few mistakes here and there, well, the pressure is going to be much less, and it's very likely you're going to perform better. Another thing she did was she tried to maintain a natural, normal speed. Okay, just like me now. I'm not speaking quickly. I'm not speaking slowly. I'm having a few times where I have to think for a little bit. That's just normal. That's fine. But if you have slow speech, okay, that's a band 5 in your fluency. If you have a lot of pauses, like between every single word, well, that could end up being a band 4 for your fluency. Okay, I put FC there for fluency and coherence. So when you're speaking, just maintain a natural speed, not fast, not slow, just a normal speed, and try not to hesitate, try not to stop all the time, because that's going to reduce your fluency. So just remember, fluency, not perfection. Keep going. You don't need to be perfect. Let's move on to the number 5 now, which is less common vocabulary. This is something that's really, really important, and a lot of students just maybe they don't know, or maybe they don't know how to do it, but you need to use some less common vocabulary if you want a band 7 for your lexical resource. If you just say good, bad, cheap, go, teacher, this, that, that's very basic vocabulary, and it's not going to give you a high band score for your lexical resource. Okay, lexical resource just means vocabulary, and that is worth 25% of your overall speaking score. Now, to get a band 7, you need to use less common vocabulary, okay? Because that's what it says in the band descriptors. So let me give you a very basic example of some less common vocabulary. Most students would say something like, go to work by bus or by train. Well, an example of some less common vocabulary could be commute. Okay, I commute to work by bus or by train. Another example could be, I don't know, maybe the food was very cheap. Well, a better word we could use, a more professional word, would be affordable. Okay, these words here in the circles, they are examples of less common vocabulary. And you don't have to use less common vocab every single sentence, 5 words every sentence. No, you just need to use some. Okay, so try to use maybe 1, 2, or 3 for every answer, because that's what it says for a band 7, some less common vocabulary. Now, another thing that Selena did was she used a few idioms. Okay, so for example, instead of saying something was very easy, she would say something like it was a walk in the park. Walk in the park. If she was talking about food that was delicious, she would say X, sushi, pasta, pizza, is to die for. Okay, these are examples of idioms, and idioms are very, very natural for native speakers to use when they're speaking. Okay, it's very, very natural, very, very normal. However, do not use idioms every single sentence, okay? Just use them sometimes when it is natural. Because if you do use them every sentence, well, that's going to change things, and it's going to make your speech sound unnatural, okay? So just use a few idioms, some idioms. And finally, the last thing she focused on was trying to avoid repetition. So that means try not to repeat the same word again and again and again. So I'll give you an example. Let me draw an arrow. If you're talking about something you like, well, that's fine to say I like, but maybe the next time you can say I'm into. Maybe the next time you can say I'm a fan of. Okay, so don't just repeat the same vocabulary. You need to show the examiner you have a range of vocab. Just using the same words again and again and again does not show the examiner you've got a wide range of vocabulary. So let me quickly show you those 5 things one more time. The first thing Selena did was focused on her pronunciation. She used complex sentences. She did not have any short answers. She focused on fluency and not perfection, and she incorporated some less common vocabulary. Now remember, if you want to do the same and you want to get a band 7 for your IELTS speaking score, make sure you check out our complete preparation course in the description below. And if you're interested in learning more about speaking, check out this video right here. And also, guys, let me know if you like this new style of video where I write on a whiteboard. If you do like this sort of thing, I'll continue to make these types of videos. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. All the best, and see you next time.